is a presentation of WGN Sports.
Continued, but baseball is back on the north side of Chicago, and the Cubs are ready to defend their National League Central Division crown. And today we begin our 60th anniversary season of Cubs baseball on WGN Sports. We'll get underway here hopefully shortly. The Cubs hosting the Milwaukee Brewers. Hi again, everyone. Bob Brenly and Len Casper with you. Opening day is always festive, and the Cubs are hoping to get this one underway very soon. Going back to last year, they won 85. It was just enough to beat Milwaukee by 2 games.
You know, we talked a little bit earlier about the Cubs with some unfinished business, the way the season ended against the Diamondbacks in the division series. I think the Brewers feel that they have some unfinished business in the Central Division as well.
Yeah, Ben Sheets missed about 10 starts last season, and when he was healthy, he was very good. That may be the key to their season. And what's the big key, in your opinion, for Lou Pinilla's team?
Well, I think the Cubs just need to execute the fundamentals a little more consistently. We know they can slug, especially when the weather warms up and the wind starts blowing out here at Wrigley Field, but there were a lot of ball games last year where advancing a runner from second to third with less than 2 outs, getting a runner home from third with less than 2 outs made the difference in winning and losing a ball game. If they can tighten up that area of the ball game, I think they are the odds-on favorite to win the division.
Alfonso Soriano's going to hit second in the lineup. Kosuke Fukudome will hit fifth, but against lefties, Lou may play around with it a little bit.
Hey, Lou's going to play around all summer. We know that. I mean, I know a lot of fans would like to have a set lineup, the same 8 guys out there every day, but the reality of a long season of the game of baseball is everybody on the roster is going to need to contribute, and when you want those bench players to start occasionally, that's going to keep them sharp for those pinch hit opportunities that are going to get late in the ball game. So I think Lou is going to continue to tweak the lineup. We may see a lot of changes in the batting order before All-Star break.
All right, let's talk about the pitching matchup today. A couple of guys who are very used to making opening day starts. Number 6 for Ben Sheets, number 4 for Carlos Zambrano.
Well, you said the key to Ben Sheets earlier, just staying healthy. This guy has the reputation and the potential to be one of the best right-handed starters in the National League if he can take the ball 32 or 33 times for Ned Yost this year. And Carlos Zambrano has had an outstanding spring mentally and physically. He's in a great place right now. He has struggled on opening days in the past, but I think this is a different Carlos Zambrano this year.
You know, he really didn't grab any headlines during spring training. Was very quiet with the media, but having a boring spring training is not a bad thing for him.
Not a bad thing at all. I mean, that's kind of the progression of a player's career. When you first get to the big leagues, you usually kind of keep your mouth shut, learn from the veterans, go about your business, and then you have a period where you become the media darling. You give them the great quotes, and what you do on the field kind of becomes secondary a little bit. Carlos has passed that stage now. Hopefully the play on the field is the most important thing for him, and he knows he's the leader of this pitching staff. What he does today will go a long way towards setting the tone for the first homestand of the season.
All right, I've been asked this about 12 times already today, so I'll just ask you, what time are we going to play?
Whenever you're ready.
We're ready. We know that. Now, they did just take the tarp off the field. They dumped the excess water. The good thing is this field, you know, theoretically can take on a lot of rain now because it is a brand new playing surface. A lot of credit to Roger Bossert from the Chicago White Sox and Roger Baird and his grounds crew, Bob. They did a great job. It was a brutal winter in Chicago.
It was really, really a tough winter and a tough year to put in a new field. But as we saw, the grounds crew came out to a huge ovation from the fans. They pulled the tarp off the field to get the excess water off of the tarp. And we saw the drainage holes out in shallow left field and shallow center field. All the water disappeared. This is some of the work that took place this winter.
Now, the warning track is about 3 feet wider. There's not quite as much room in foul territory down the third base line. They've added 3 rows of seats, the CBOE seats. The tarp has been moved from the left field side to the right field side. And I guess the only other issue is the slope near the foul lines when you get close to the bullpen, and that'll be an adjustment for Kosuke Fukudome.
Yeah, the way this field was crowned in the past, I felt it could be a big home field advantage for the Cubs. We used to talk about it coming in here as a visiting player. When you round first base, be careful because you initially go downhill and then you come back uphill. Same thing when you round third base. After you hit the bag and get into foul territory, it was like running downhill. So that's no longer going to be a problem, but the field should be in great condition, and we know there were some ugly hops out there in Wrigley in the past. Hopefully this field will play much truer this year.
And speaking of the drainage, they were pushing some of the excess water in the shallow part of the outfield through those holes. And again, I really believe we're going to get this thing going here pretty quickly. And today, Bob, is not about how much water the field has taken. It's about how much it's literally going to rain. And what they need to find is a window. We were talking off the air. The last thing either team wants is to go out there, have Carlos and Ben Sheets warm up, pitch 1 inning or 2, and then all of a sudden you can't play.
That's a manager and a pitching coach's worst nightmare, to have your starting pitcher go down to the bullpen, warm up in preparation for a ball game, maybe throw an inning or 2, and then have the rains come and lose that start. It's something neither manager wants to look at this early in the season.
Well, the good thing is we do have some extra time, and if you missed it, or even if you caught it, you're going to want to relive a magical ceremony as Ernie Banks had his statue unveiled right out front of the ballpark. We had it right here on WGN Sports, but we'll catch some highlights. Hank Aaron was there, the Reverend Jesse Jackson. It was a great event, and more on that when we come back. We're in a rain delay. Brewers and the Cubs hopefully starting very soon.
You know, every day at 3 o'clock, Budweiser Brewmasters in St. Louis taste samples flown in from all 12 of our local breweries to ensure that every Budweiser tastes the same, coast to coast. That's a sweet job.
Today, we're observing the Geico Gecko, an extraordinary creature with a most curious adaptation. The ability to save people hundreds of dollars on their car insurance. Let's watch.
That's odd.
Whoa. Fascinating.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
I'll call you then. Bye.
Devin?
Cindy, it's been a long time.
Yeah, I'll say. You've got the whole Verizon Wireless network. Mr. Fear of Commitment. That's weird.
Well, they came with my pay-as-you-go plan, so I only pay for them when I use them.
So you haven't changed at all?
Nope.
Verizon Wireless pay-as-you-go. Forget long-term contracts. Just pay on the days you use your phone. That's reliability on demand at select retailers and Verizon Wireless.
Budweiser, first with refrigerated rail cars, first with Born on Dating, and now this, the new Fresh Lock cap. Keeps the air out and the freshness in. Innovation. Now that's Budweiser.
Chicago Cubs baseball brought to you by Budweiser. Reach for the perfect balance of flavor and refreshment. Budweiser, the great American lager. The Chicagoland area Dodge dealers and the all-new 2009 Dodge Journey. AT&T. See what's new from the new AT&T. Visit att.com for details. The Illinois Lottery. Play the Illinois Lottery. Have a ball. By Pepsi. Every sip gets you closer. And by Southwest Airlines. You're now free to be more productive. Visit southwest.com today.
The Chicago Cubs opening their 133rd consecutive season in the National League. Only the Cubs and the Braves franchises have been in the National League since day one, all the way back in 1876. Well, Ernie Banks, now immortalized with the statue out in front of Wrigley Field, already has his number 14 retired, of course, in the Hall of Fame. But what a great ceremony it was today. Long overdue, and we look forward to talking to Ernie a little later.
Oh, really looking forward to talking to Ernie today. I mean, you would get the feeling if you meet Ernie on any day of the week that they just put a statue up that day. This guy has the greatest attitude, not only toward the game of baseball, but toward life. What a joy for the Cubs players and the Cubs organization and the Cubs fans to have Ernie Banks around to be part of this opening day.
And the rain let up just enough for the ceremony this morning. Let's hear from Cubs chairman Crane Kenny, who kicked things off.
71, and as a coach from 1967 to 1973, Ernie Banks delighted fans in the city of Chicago and throughout this country with his stellar play and cheerful disposition. He was born January 31st, 1931 in Dallas, Texas, and earned high school letters for his standout play in football, track, basketball, and baseball. And did he know how to play baseball? Listen to some of these achievements. 2-time National League Most Valuable Player, 14-time All-Star. His 512 career home runs ranks 19th all-time in baseball. He hit 277 of his home runs as a shortstop, a National League record. During his 19-year career, Ernie posted a career average of 274 and a slugging percentage of 500. He led the National League in home runs in 1958 and 1960, and in runs batted in 1958 and 1959. His fielding skills were equally impressive. He posted 14,206 putouts and only 261 errors, an impressive fielding percentage of .986. And he still holds many Cub records today, 37 years after his playing career ended, including the record for extra base hits, games played, at-bats, and total bases. And on May 8th, 1963, something truly historic happened. It was an otherwise nondescript game, a 3-2 Cubs win over the Padres in 12 innings. A total of 4,554 fans attended, but in the late innings, Cubs manager Whitey Lockman was ejected, and Ernie Banks was tapped to step in as manager. This made him officially the first African American to manage in the major leagues and predated Frank Robinson's hiring by almost 2 years. Not surprisingly, Ernie was elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame in his first year of eligibility in 1977. He was the first Cubs player to have his number retired in 1982. And so it's absolutely fitting that we honor our most prolific, cheerful, and beloved player to ever wear a Cubs uniform with this statue. We know Cubs fans for generations will come to gather year-round in this courtyard to pay tribute to this great man. So on behalf of the entire Cubs organization, we thank you, Ernie Banks, for filling us with cherished memories, for your irrepressible spirit and enduring commitment to the Chicago Cubs and Cubs fans around the world. Before we raise the curtain and unveil this tribute, it's my privilege to introduce a few of Ernie's colleagues who played with and against him. With us today is another distinguished member of the Baseball Hall of Fame. He is known throughout the land for his 755 lifetime home runs. In his 23-year Major League career, he rewrote baseball's record book and held more Major League batting records than any other player in the history of the game. He was the first player to have 3,000 hits and more than 500 home runs. He played in 24 All-Star games, and since his retirement from baseball, he has given back to the community throughout our country with his Chasing the Dream Foundation, established to help children between the ages of 9 and 12 realize their goals. In 2003, he received the Jackie Robinson Lifetime Achievement Award, honoring his career excellence in the face of adversity. Please join me in welcoming the Senior Vice President of the Atlanta Braves, Hammer and Hank, Mr. Hank Aaron.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Let me say that it is a pleasure to be back in Chicago once again. I lived in Milwaukee for about 12 or 13 years, and this was one of my favorite cities. As Ernie always would say, it's nice to play two, and it was always nice to play two in Chicago because the wind was always blowing out, Ernie, and I always took advantage of that. But let me say that coming to Chicago, I have met many, many friends. I have sat at tables and had dinner with all of my friends. And one in particular, I just like to say that I wish that she were here with the Reverend, and I'm speaking about Reverend Jesse Jackson and his wife. Jesse, thank you so very much for the time that I came here and the time that I needed you, and I leaned on your shoulder for support. Thank you so very much, and I appreciate it. Thank you. I would like to say that in the years that I played baseball, Ernie came up just about 1 year before I was on a major league roster. And I can remember in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, when I used to listen to Ernie, and Ernie, you're not that much older than I am, but I just like to say that you certainly paved the way for a lot of us, when I say us, some black ball players and minorities. You showed us the way that we should carry ourselves not only on the field, but off the field. I can remember one time that I came into a stadium in Houston, Texas, when Ernie always, I don't know, I'm sure most of you people in Chicago know a lot about Ernie, but Ernie always wore a thick shirt, no matter whether it was 100 degrees or what. He would always wear this shirt. And I would always try to figure out why would he wear such a heavy shirt when it was so hot. And one day I cornered him off and I said, Ernie, I said, why did you wear this shirt when it's so hot? He said, you know what? He said, try it sometime. He said, when you wear a heavy shirt, especially when it's hot, you can keep your body cool. And that is the gospel truth. And Ernie, I want to thank you for that little advice that you gave us. Thank you so very much. I am seriously, I am really thrilled to be here. My wife and I, when we first got this invitation some months ago, I told my assistant, I said, the one thing that I want to do, I want to make sure that I'll be part of this celebration. Ernie has always been part of everything that my wife and I has done. Even when I celebrated my 65th birthday, he was the first one there. He was the first one there when I had my statue unveiled. And he's always supported me. So I just feel like my wife and I, we needed to be here. This is a tremendous honor, Ernie, for you and Liz to have your statue unveiled. I just wished it had been 10, 15 years ago. I wish they had done it a few years ago, but be that as it may, it is going to be unveiled. And I, for one, am going to be very proud of the fact that I had the opportunity not only to play baseball with you, but to share in your dreams that you always wanted. You was the greatest ambassador for baseball, and you still is a great ambassador for baseball. And I salute you on this day, Ernie. This is your day, you and Liz. This is your day. Enjoy it. And I just want to say thank you so very much for all you have done, not only to me, for me, but for baseball also. Thank you so very, very much.
The longtime home run champion, Hank Aaron. Well, when the statue was unveiled today, would Ernie like what he saw? I think he did. Ernie Banks got a sneak peek at it over the weekend, and here's the unveiling. Always entertaining the crowd. And he and Cubs chairman Crane Kenny unveiling. But first, a few handshakes. The Reverend Jesse Jackson, the governor here, Bob Blagojevich, Minnie Minoso, Dutchie Carey, Pat Brickhouse. And what a wonderful ceremony. The inspiration of the statue and the sculptor Lou Sella did an outstanding job. John McDonough, Jay Blunt now with the Chicago Blackhawks, but John McDonough a big part of getting this thing done before he left the Cubs organization. So here it is, the Ernie Banks statue. And the inspiration, August 29th, 1959, an instant before he hit a grand slam off Hall of Famer Warren Spahn, giving the Cubs a 4-2 lead as the button front jersey as opposed to the zipper front that was used in previous years. The model and label of the Louisville Slugger he used that season as well. And now let's listen to Mr. Cub.
Mr. Cub is at the podium.
Now, this is the part I like. Now, I'm not bragging. I'm the only professional athlete who played his entire career in one city, Chicago, one mayor, Richard J. Daley, one owner, P.K. Wrigley, one park, Wrigley Field, and I played all my home games under one light, and that's God's lights. Where are they? I was satisfied. I think today of P.K. Wrigley, who brought me here to Chicago and taught me so much about life, and Jackie Robinson and Buck O'Neill and Hank Aaron and Billy Williams and all the people who taught me to listen and learn. And to have this statue brings me into the spotlight, but I always like shining, and Ronnie and all of them know this, shining the spotlight on someone who done something special. And I think of moms raising 5 kids on their own. To me, those people were my idols. I don't know how they did it, just like I can't imagine how my mom raised a family on $10 a week. It's a miracle that I made it from there to here. When I had my number retired by the Cubs, it struck me as the greatest honor because it was the first number ever retired in 100 years of this franchise. And I knew it would still be there flying on the flagpole 100 years from now. That's how I feel about this statue. I know it will be here 100 years from now. It's a miracle to me. But it is proof that you find satisfaction, contentment in your life. Miracles can happen. It's been some journey, and I thank the great Cup fans for taking the journey with me, and I thank you for the satisfying moment here today. I really appreciate all of this. I love all the... Hold on a minute. I love all the enthusiasm that you all have given me, and I see a lot of you I've been around and been with and talked to, and I've learned a lot from all of you. And there's one great thing about this city. Somebody's always got their hand out to help you, no matter where you go or what you do. And I see a lot of people here that helped me in my life when things was up and things were down. They're always there. And this is a remarkable place, and I just love it. I love this ballpark, and what I'm saying about this statue, long after I'm not here, I'll still be here. Thank you.
One of a kind, the greatest player in the history of the Chicago Cubs, Ernie Banks, 512 home runs, 19 seasons, and as he said, he played his entire career here in Chicago, and a little under the weather today. You can hear his throat was a little scratchy, but I have a feeling that his singing voice will be right on key as he will conduct the 7th inning stretch. We are getting very close to opening day baseball. Carlos Zambrano loosening up in sheets as well. They're chalking the infield, and we're getting ready. We'll have all the opening day ceremonies. Ryan Theriot will be the Cubs leadoff man, and Carlos Zambrano will be on the hill.
Dude.
your in-home disasters become America's biggest laughter. We've got it all caught on tape. Every weeknight, you get all the hilarious moments of AFE. Even when things go extremely wrong, laughter makes it oh so right. It's the cranks, pranks, and all-out stupid maneuvers that make Monday nights a splash. Join Tom Bergeron as he brings you the ultimate in reality television.
Common sense is the enemy of comedy. My new motto, stop thinking, start taping.
It's a knockdown, flipped around good time. So when life gets a little crazy, remember to take some time to laugh. America's Funniest Home Videos. Weeknights at 7 Eastern on Superstation WGN. It's great to be home.
Baseball time is here again. You can catch it all on WGN. So stamp your feet and clap your hands. Chicago Cubs got the greatest
The 2007 Cubs postgame anthem was Go Cubs Go, and we hope to hear that song today and about 80 more times after this afternoon. Good ovation for Kosuke Fukudome. Some abbreviated lineup introductions. Normally both teams, the reserves, the coaching staff, they're all introduced, but because of the precarious weather situation, they're kind of trying to get this thing moving here.
Yeah, you know, Len, it's funny about opening day. For me, opening day was always really for the fans, the players, and you know this, I'm a big believer in the rhythm of a season, and the players are very much creatures of habit. They do things at a certain time every day. They prepare for a game a certain way, and opening day is a distraction. You have a lot of things going on, a lot of media that won't be here on Wednesday. So this is the day for the fans. The players are just going to be glad to get opening day over with, get into the rhythm of the season, but what a day it is for the fans.
You know, from our perch high atop Wrigley Field, the playing surface looks different from our vantage point. You know, we make a lot of Luke can now see Mike Fontenot if he comes in the game late and plays second base or whatever, but it is a nice advantage to actually be able to see everything down there, isn't it?
You know, there was some controversy in years past about the manager and his inability to see the players on the field and to see plays that took place on the field and be able to go out there and argue about them. That won't be a problem anymore, and it can't really be overstated what a great job they did to reconstruct this field so that both teams have a real good view of what's happening on the field.
I mean, any concern on your part about, you know, you're playing spring training and you're just trying to avoid injury? Well, today you got to really get it going, and particularly for the outfielders. While this field does drain extremely well, it is still wet.
Yeah, there will be some soft spots out there, especially on the warning track areas that don't drain, but you know, for the most part, given the weather conditions we've had today and leading up to today, this field is in really good shape. You see as the ground crew right now trying to work on that warning track, get some of those muddy spots dried up a little bit. I don't think the playing conditions on the field are going to be much of a factor today at all.
And you hope that not only do you get the game in completely, but you don't want to have a long rain delay in the early innings, because all of a sudden if teams start burning their bullpen in game one, the pitching coaches are going to get no sleep.
No sleep at all. Boy, you just hate to have that happen. And of course it's going to happen over the course of a long baseball season, but with the anticipation and the adrenaline that's flowing today, especially for a guy like Carlos Zambrano, you want him, if he warms up and starts this game, you want him to be able to go out there and pitch until he's done.
So Zambrano going with the short sleeves. You know, it should heat up at some point this afternoon. We're hearing about south and southwest winds. Ben Sheets won 12 games last year. The other thing we haven't mentioned, this is a big series. I mean, it's a game one of the season, but all these games the Cubs and Brewers play could end up being very big ones.
You know, we talked a little bit about it in spring training, how this has really developed into a rivalry. I mean, in years past, the Brewers really didn't have a competitive team, a team that you really worried about in your division. That is not the case anymore. This is a real good young Brewers ball club. They can bang the ball. They have some question marks with their pitching staff, but right out of the chute, you're playing your main competitor in your own division at home, so this is indeed a big series.
I know if you could draw it up 11-1 Cubs or something like that, but it wouldn't be bad to have Kerry Wood get in there in the ninth today.
Well, it'd be great for Kerry Wood, I think, just to get his feet underneath him, let the crowd react to Kerry Wood taking the mound for the first time as the closer, and ideally have him come in there and strike out 3 guys, throwing 98-mile-an-hour heat to warm this place up a little bit.
We are now going to send it down to the field. Wayne Messmer, the longtime public address announcer, will take over. The color guard is here, and let's send it down to the field.
Ladies and gentlemen, please direct your attention to the area behind home plate. Presenting the colors for today's game is Bravo Troop Color Guard of the Dixon, Illinois Army National Guard. We ask that you all please stand as we honor America. Kindly remove your caps. Ladies and gentlemen, on Thursday, February 14th, tragic events took place on the campus of Northern Illinois University in DeKalb. And due to this senseless act of violence, 5 lives were lost and 18 others were injured. We will never forget this day or these students. In remembrance of these events, an NIU flag will fly atop Wrigley Field throughout the 2008 season. And as you can see, it's located on the first base side. Our thoughts go out to the victims, their families, as well as the faculty and staff at NIU at this time of healing. We also ask now you bow your heads and take a moment to reflect on these recent events and honor these 5 students. Thank you. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing as we honor America. And please join me, Chicago Cubs public address announcer Wayne Messmer, accompanied by Gary Pressing at the Wrigley Field Lowry organ in a singing and playing of our national anthem. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Wayne Messmer in mid-season form. It's a beautiful day for baseball because we're ready to play. Ceremonial first pitch coming up. And Mr. Cub is in the house. Partner, this audience is ready.
Oh, they've been ready for quite a while. A lot of the fans gathered outside the ballpark for the Ernie Banks statue unveiling, the Harry Carey Tavern that opened this morning to the fans before opening day. Yeah, they're ready to play ball now. They've had a lot of fun, a lot of festivities. Now it's time to get down to business.
Cool and dry and not much wind to speak of. And there's a replica of the statue that is outside the ballpark.
Well, I know one thing, Len. I would love to have the concession selling portable, or rather disposable cameras outside the ballpark this morning. Even after the ceremonies were completed, hundreds of fans gathered around the statue taking pictures. It's a wonderful, wonderful day for Ernie Banks, the Cubs organization, and the great Cubs fans who have come out here to support this team throughout the years.
Raining in New York, Blue Jays and Yankees. Raining in Cincinnati. Diamondbacks and Reds. So weather interrupting opening day around baseball. Hank Aaron with a great speech that you heard earlier. Fergie Jenkins is here. Billy Williams, Ron Santo, Minnie Minoso, Reverend Jesse Jackson, Governor Blagojevich, Senator Dick Durbin. And a very festive afternoon here in Chicago.
And it looks like there's a little more to come. Trumpets waiting to herald the entrance of Mr. Cub to the field. Well, Len, I thought it was interesting listening to some of Ernie's comments this morning about how he listened and learned from those who came before him. What a great attitude. What a great way to approach not only the game of baseball but your life. Learn from those who have been there before.
Well, anybody who has met Ernie Banks becomes a happier person because of it. He is the most positive person you'll ever meet. Here he comes. Always ask you about your family. And he's heading out to the microphone. Let's listen to the reaction. He's asking where he should go.
Well, he might as well stand in that right-handed batter's box. That's where he was most comfortable.
Billy and Ernie.
There you go.
At this time, we'd like to recognize a very special guest and a very special moment in Cubs franchise history. Accompanied by the Banks family, the Reverend Jesse Jackson, Hank Aaron, and fellow Hall of Famers Billy Williams and Fergie Jenkins. This man was a two-time National League MVP and 14-time All-Star. He hit 512 career home runs and was inducted to Baseball's Hall of Fame in 1977. In addition, his number 14 was the first number to be retired in Chicago Cub history. And earlier today, he was immortalized by having his very own statue unveiled in front of the Wrigley Field marquee. For this presentation, please welcome Chairman of the Chicago Cubs, Crane Kenny, as he presents Mr. Cub, Ernie Banks, a replica statue of this achievement.
Earlier today, we unveiled a statue that honors a man whose name is synonymous with Chicago Cubs baseball, Mr. Cub, Ernie Banks. Ernie, your name sits atop the Cubs record books. Your number 14 flies atop our left field foul pole, and your statue will forever greet the greatest fans in the world as they make their way into the greatest ballpark in America. On behalf of the Chicago Cubs organization, please accept this replica trophy statue to commemorate this historic day.
Thank you very much, Crane. And thanks to all of you for making this possible for me. This is really a miracle. This is really a miracle. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
And now, to officially start the 2008 season, Mr. Cub, Ernie Banks, will throw out the ceremonial first pitch.
The longest tenured Cub, currently in uniform, Kerry Wood, accepting that first pitch. That's a Hall of Fame group right there.
Wow, I'm telling you what, some autographs right there.
So we are just minutes away from Cubs baseball. The first game in 2008. It is a beautiful day for a ball game. We'll be back.
To do nothing. You live another day, I'll be very impressed. It's over, not yet. Beware my wrath. Is she dead? Pretty much. Have a nice day.